For 4 decades, Steve Hill has been farming on the Vaal River, where it becomes the border between the Free State and Northwest Province.
30 years back, I can lay down in a shallow stream in the Vaal River and drink that water.
This farming community borders the Vaal. Apart from crops, cattle and sheep, it's also known for its picturesque wetlands, a bird's paradise. The Vaal is a very busy river. The entire system supplies 46% of the country's economy, around 19 million people. But this mighty river is under threat on multiple fronts. One of those is mining. This is a story about a fragile ecosystem, about what's known as a tailings dam, a massive one built next to the Vaal River. It's about a listed mining company allegedly paying lip service to environmental best practice, and about what some are calling a crisis waiting to happen. Tailings dams are typically earth-filled embankment dams, used to store the byproducts of mining. They dot the landscape on the iconic old gold reef across 3 provinces. And while the industry isn't what it used to be, many of these dams still contain unrecovered gold that becomes profitable to mine under the right conditions. And that's really where our story begins. Around a decade ago, a company called Mine Waste Solutions wanted to remine 15 old tailings dams between Klerksdorp and Potchefstroom. New mining generated new byproducts or tailings that had to be dumped somewhere. That somewhere became a spot 2 kilometers from the Vaal River. By 2009, Mine Waste Solutions got the go-ahead from government to build the mega tailings dam called Kareerand. It made locals like Steve very nervous.
Our big concern was, at the end of the day, what is going to happen to the environment, the Vaal River as such, as a source of natural water.
The people here had good reason to be worried, as they remembered 𝗵𝗔𝗋𝗄. In 1994, 17 residents of a sleepy Free State mining town were killed when a tailings dam failed.
The leading cause of failures in the past in South Africa is when there have been storms.
Dr. 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀 is a geotechnical engineer, basically an expert in the behavior of soil and rocks. He explains that a storm could cause a disaster. Is that what happened at 𝗵𝗔𝗋𝗄?
Yes. It was a storm that caused it to overtop.
Ons het die versekering gegee dat die dam sy uitleg en sy bou sal van so 'n aard wees dat dit sal nooit gebeur nie.
Dr. 𝗵𝗶𝘀 says Kareerand's walls are more stable because they were built to a flatter angle than usual. But they can still overflow, and it has happened in the past after heavy rainstorms. To get a sense of the megadam's scale, we took to the air with the battaliers who fly in service of the environment.
Hi, how are you doing? Good.
So this is the Kareerand tailings dam, built with a capacity of 350 million tons.
If this were pure water, it would fill an astonishing 140,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. But in this case, the contents are toxic. The dam became operational around 2011. From here, it looks full to the brim. From the air, we saw what looked like a spillage.
I can't say how toxic it is, but to me it doesn't seem like a very healthy situation.
Back on land, we're joined by veteran environmental activist Mariette Liverink. Over a decade ago, concerned farmers had first roped her in to help them after uranium-laden water from some of the 15 old tailings dams on the same compound as Kareerand spilled into the 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀, a tributary of the Vaal.
In fact, it was not just one spillage. There was continuous spillages from the pipelines.
As valuable as uranium can be when the price is right, when it spills, it's toxic and radioactive and a potential health hazard to humans. So Mariette locked horns with a company that by then was in charge of mine waste solutions, 𝗀𝗀𝗆.
We took pictures at the time, and we then laid criminal charges at the local police station against a wide pool of persons, including directors.
The charges went nowhere, but the National Nuclear Regulator did issue several directives ordering the company to clean up the mess. Ever since, Mariette has kept an eye on developments here. But when it came to Kareerand, 𝗀𝗀𝗆 made all the right noises.
What made this project marvelous is that 𝗀𝗀𝗆𝗆 promised to build processing plants to extract sulphuric acid and uranium from the existing dam, so the water flowing through to the mega dam would not be so contaminated.
Uranium's one of the byproducts of gold mining because it's present in the ore that's brought to the surface. Sulphuric acid is used in the uranium extraction process. Back in 2008, an environmental impact study warned that without the extraction plants, pollution could spike. With this undertaking in place, the Northwest government allowed the dam. But if 𝗀𝗀𝗆's plans changed, they had to get reapproval in writing.
So what happened to that deal?
It never happened. They're only taking out gold.
Our investigation found that the uranium plant worked for only a short while, and the sulphuric acid plant was never even built. We also found no reapproval for the changed plans.
This is very serious. It points to a dereliction of duty at many levels, and the proximity of this particular facility to the Vaal River is a huge cause of concern.
Professor Tracy Lynn Field, an environmental lawyer, says not complying with the government's approval has dire consequences.
Then contravening it or not complying it is a crime. And in the second, it's unlawfully and intentionally or negligently committing an act or an omission that causes significant pollution or degradation.
Then 𝗀𝗀𝗆 wanted to expand the mega dam. Their own environmental tests showed how the sulfate plume in the groundwater was growing significantly underneath the dam.
I think a nice way to picture a plume is to think if you had a bowl of water and you dropped a bit of dye into that bowl of water. So beneath that facility, there is this plume of acids, salts, sulfates that is spreading.
Which is serious, I would think.
It definitely would be serious.
Only a year later, another study found the plumes were still threatening the Vaal. To test whether pollution is still taking place, we sent soil samples from spots on the Mine Waste Solutions compound to an accredited laboratory. Wits University's Centre for Water Research and Development, who interpreted the results, found that the soil showed excessive levels of arsenic, copper, the heavy metal lead, and high levels of radioactive uranium.
We must remember that these tailings storage facilities will exist for many years, even after mine closure. And uranium, as we know, has an extremely long half-life.
So that's our story's kicker. Shockingly, despite evidence of growing pollution and what looks like unauthorized changes to the original undertakings, Kareerand is getting bigger, to more than double its size. And 𝗀𝗀𝗆 has sold off the project. In 2020, with the expansion planning in an advanced stage, Harmony Gold took over, and a year later the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, or the DMRE, authorized the project. But for locals, the question remains. Who will be to blame if poor management or a massive rainstorm ended in another Mary Spruit-type disaster?
Where do you find liability in this case?
The corporate actor at the coalface is Mine Waste Solutions. And the ownership of Mine Waste Solutions has changed from 𝗀𝗀𝗆𝗆 to Harmony Gold. This has just shifted administrative liability, but it hasn't shifted criminal liability.
𝗀𝗀 Ashanti declined an interview, but said in writing it had made significant progress in reducing the environmental impact from the 15 old tailings dams in the area, some of which were built even closer to the Vaal than Kareerand. It said the spot near the Vaal had been chosen because it allowed for construction on solid rock rather than porous and unstable ground. Harmony Gold says it's met all government's requirements and that it's committed to operating Kareerand safely, which is why it claims to have reduced the volume of water in the mega dam and improved the lining to prevent seepage. Harmony neglected to comment specifically on what looked to us like seepage on our flyover.
If we don't have sufficient water that is in a good state, it's not possible to produce food for South Africa.
Steve and other locals can only wait and see whether the mining companies will keep their promises.